Hello everyone, in today's video we're going to be taking a look at the drone camera. Now this is a video I probably should have done about 3 years ago, but hey, you can learn something every day, right? So right now we are in our standard chase camera. If you're on a regular keyboard, this is by pressing the end key. The great thing about this camera, of course, is, if I want to do my nice slow dramatic zoom around my moon of ovation here, I could do that pretty easily as long as you have your controller set up. But believe it or not, this camera is stuck on my plane. Wouldn't it be nice if we had a camera where we could just fly around? Well, that's what the drone camera is. So I'm going to go ahead and climb inside my aircraft real quickly. By the way, the normal key for a chase camera is end. And I'm going to press the insert key. Now, initially, you're going to sit here and go, hey, this looks exactly the same as what you just had a minute ago. But it isn't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and press WASD. And what you'll notice is I'm actually discombobulated here. I have separated my body from the rest of the aircraft. As a matter of fact, my aircraft right there is if it starts moving, we're going to actually start moving with it. Now, this is a pretty cool camera because there's a lot of different functionality that you have on it. I call this kind of a two-handed camera. Your WASD commands are going to be using for actually moving the head of the camera around, like a walk-in. Now, if you press your numpad commands, you're going to notice a couple other things. For example, if I press 6 on my numpad, you'll notice you go to the right. Press F4, you go to the left. If you press your 8 key, it's going to tip you up. You press your 2 key, it's going to make you go down. And of course, if you really want to make yourself dizzy, you can go ahead and press 7. Ho, ho, ho. Yeah, if you want to do a camera like that for the rest of the journey, I imagine a lot of people are going to go, oh my God, stop it. Now, the cool thing is, if you ever get stuck, you can always press the number 5 on the numpad, and it will instantaneously snap you back up. Now, you're saying, well, that's pretty cool. What else can it do? Well, the other one you have on your numpad is the plus and minus. Now, why would you want to use the plus and minus key? Well, if you use the plus and minus key and then you press the F1 key on your keyboard, you're going to notice you get this really, really slick depth of field sort of a look that you are probably noticing right now. Now, this depth of field is wild because if you press the F2 key, it increases the depth of field. If you tap the F3 key, it's going to take out the depth of field. Now, if you press F4, what it's going to do is attempt to autofocus on whatever it is you're actually looking at this given time. Now, if that makes you crazy, like some people probably would say, you can press F1 and actually shut off the depth of field. Of course, you can press the minus, or you can go ahead and press that 5 key. Now, there's other things we can actually do with this drone camera as well, which is really wild. For example, if I press the T key, it'll give me the ability to lock onto something. Now, because we are on the ground here, we only have the ability to go ahead and move so far. Now, if I want to go ahead and reset, I can press my 5 key. Now, if you press Control page up and page down, it will lock on to points of interest. Now, in this case, it is locked on to that little object over here. But now notice my head is now independent of my camera, so I get a great look of Elizabeth Field here. And again, I can fly it around. You can do a dramatic zooms like that. And again, if you want to make somebody puke, this is, again, a fantastic way to do that. Whee! You go ahead and press the 5, whip, and we snap right back to where we go. Now, what's so slick about this particular tool is you can actually record 2 points in time and then have the camera interpolate between it. That's a really, really, really slick trick. The other thing that works well, too, is if you press end at any point, you can go ahead and snap back in. Now, when you are in drone cam mode, you have to exit drone cam mode if you want to go back to actually operating the aircraft. So what we'll do now is we'll jump up into the air and we'll play with a couple more functions of this fancy camera. All right, everything's looking good in here. Let's go back to the drone cam. So now we are airborne. Now, if I press my WASD, you're going to notice that it's the same setup as it was before. I can now create dramatic pans around my aircraft. I can turn on the depth of field. I'll put on my automatic zoom, really crank it. Now let's go I had a little bit too high. Yeah, let's put that in. Put autofocus on by pressing F4. Now you can do all sorts of really, really dramatic things. I can sit there, tip my aircraft just the way that I want it, and you can see it working just. Again, an absolutely sophisticated little tool that we have built in here. Now, there are other buttons we have, too, when we're actually messing around with the drone camera. And that's the fact that we have the ability to actually go ahead and control the actual aircraft remotely, or if we choose, we can actually shut the control off. By pressing the C key on the keyboard, you have to take direct control of the airplane. If you press the C key again, you shut off control of the airplane. Now, the reason you're going to want to be really, really careful with that is if you put yourself in a stall or something silly like that, that is all on you. And some of the fun things we can do here is let me go ahead and I'll press plus a few times here. I'll go ahead and I'll bring in that dramatic depth of field. And it's looking pretty good. Oh, yeah, right there, right there. Yeah, show me those wings. Work it for me. And I'll go ahead and do that. Other options you have, of course, is going to be your F2 key. Now, your F2, if you just tap it normally, it's going to give you that depth of field. If you press Control and F2, you can actually adjust the exposure. Now, remember, we're using a high dynamic range here. You want to create a really, really slick look where, let's see, try to do autofocus with Control F4. You can create these very, very, very fancy shots. You can really, really jack up the blur and have just, look at that. That is such a mean look at a Mooney right there. When you're done with your views, of course, you can always press the insert key and then exit the view, or if you'd rather, you can always just tap that 5 and reset everything back to normal. So as you can see, the drone camera is really, really slick. Like one of the cool things that we don't see very well, at least where I'm parked right now, is pressing the control page up and page down, which will give you the ability to actually select a specific target and look at it. You can see if I just tap control page down right now, it's going to lock on to the nearest thing that's way, 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 way off in the distance here. And as you can see, it's not really the best view of it. It's just kind of jammed us into the ground here. I can press it again and allow myself to actually float around. You can define what these points are. Again, it's trying to use these airports as kind of a basic. And if you ever get stuck, again, numpad 5 is going to be that magic button that's going to let you kind of expand. Now, if you press the T key, that'll be the last thing I point out. It is going to break your view here. Now, the reason that's useful is because if I press and hold the T key, I can now go ahead and lock onto something off in the distance. Now, I'm going to go ahead and reset my view here. I'm actually going to go ahead and tip my view down, and I'm going to go ahead and use that as a way. I like how you can use the arrow keys to fly the plane. That's so weird. Go ahead and tip my view down. That looks pretty good right there. I'm going to go ahead and press the T. And as you notice, did you see that giant thing that appeared for a second there? I've now made that my new target point. Again, as long as I hold down that T key, I can now set the target that I'm interested in. Obviously, if I'm interested in my plane, it could be that. But if I wanted the bridges, I can look there. And I crashed. Very important that you remember that aspect of the flying. Watch out for that C key. Enjoy.